Some new details on a Social Security raise. What Bernie Sanders just said. I have all the details and exactly what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now in this video, I want to discuss the details of exactly what Bernie Sanders just said in regards to raising Social Security benefits for lower income beneficiaries and making sure that the program remains solvent for many more years to come. Let's get into it and talk about what Bernie just said. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so, and because I am your one and only daily advocate, I'm here for you right by your side each and every day, watching all this new information hitting the wire, doing the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay updated with what's actually going on, as it's a very busy time right now. Things continue to change, and it's also a very uncertain time as things are changing every single day. We're getting new announcements, and a lot of times we're not even sure what this actually means for us. Therefore, that's why I'm breaking it down into these videos so you can understand how it may impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course anything showing up right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet so you don't miss any videos going forward. And also remember, I'm here for you in any way that I can be. That's my dedication, that's my commitment, and as always, that's my promise to you and everybody right here in the community. All right, let's get into it and talk about old Bernie Sanders and what he just said in an interview about Social Security and again, raising benefits for lower income beneficiaries, as well as the whole insolvency issue that's currently going on right now. All right, so in this video, I'm actually going to be sharing with you a short clip of Bernie Sanders speaking exactly on this topic. Then you can hear the exact words out of the mouth of Bernie Sanders, because this is actually pretty important. Generally, I don't come back all that often and share clips of different people speaking, but this one I thought, you know what? I want you to hear the words right out of Bernie Sanders, and then we can talk about the details of exactly what he said. So with that, let's bring Bernie in right here, right now. I'm going to show you this quick clip. It's only about, I don't know, a minute and a half, something like that. And then I will come back afterward and we will discuss the details of what he said and what all of this actually means. All right, Bernie, take it away, and I'll catch you again here in just a minute.
You're obviously a staunch supporter of expanding entitlements like Social Security. The Congressional Budget Office says that without intervention, the program will become insolvent as soon as 2033. Some lawmakers have floated the idea of this bipartisan panel to look at how to save those programs. Would you support that approach, or do you have conditions?
Well, no, I wouldn't support that approach, because the last time around, the conclusion they came up with was major cuts to Social Security, et cetera. Look, the solution to this problem is not very hard to understand, and we've got legislation in to address it. Anderson, right now, if you got one person who makes $100 million a year and another person who makes $160,000 a year, both of those people put in exactly the same amount of money into Social Security, because there's a ceiling on how much your taxes will be paid into the program. If you lift that cap, starting at $250,000, you can make Social Security not only solvent for the next 75 years. 75 years, you can increase benefits for lower income elderly people who are struggling really hard right now to get by. That's the solution to the problem. And I hope that we will get a large amount of support for that.
On the debt ceiling, though, I mean, how does it end? How does this problem get resolved?
I think it ends very simply the way it should end in a democratic society. And that is, the American people make the decisions. Do you really want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid several years after Republicans gave huge tax breaks to the richest people and the largest corporations, and at a time when we have more income and wealth inequality than we have had in 100 years? Really? Is that what you want to do? Is that what you think the American people want to do?
All right, so there it is. You can clearly hear exactly what Bernie Sanders was saying about Social Security. Let's quickly talk about a few key takeaways out of that little interview right there with Bernie Sanders. Basically, he was talking about raising Social Security benefits for lower income beneficiaries, also increasing solvency of Social Security for, like what he said, the next 75 years. He also talked about higher income people. In fact, he talked about somebody earning $100 million. Now, How many people really earn $100 million? Again, I'm just saying, did he have to be really that extreme? I think he could have said something like, I don't know, $400,000 or like $500,000. He didn't have to say $100 million, but anyway, that's what he said. So I'm just being real. Like, how many people really earn $100 million? Like 3 people? I mean, let's just be real for a second, okay? But anyway, he used $100 million and he used that as an example as somebody earning $160,000. I almost had a hard time saying that because they're such a drastically different numbers. But anyway, he was basically saying those 2 people pay the exact same amount into Social Security, and he simply talked about raising the limit, the cap there, up to $250,000. That one simple act he was actually suggesting would give them the ability to remain solvent for 75 years and ultimately raise benefits by $200 for the low-income beneficiaries. Now, where did I get the $200 figure from? Because he did not say $200 in that video. However, I want to say $200 simply because he is one of these senators who came back and introduced the Social Security Expansion Act about, I don't know, 9 months ago or so. It was sometime last year. It was maybe in like the late spring or early summer of last year. He came out and introduced the Social Security Expansion Act, which does exactly what he was just talking about. Raises the Social Security cap, the tax cap, the maximum taxable earnings. It does that. It increases solvency for about 75 years, like he said. And it does also implement a $200 per month raise to monthly benefit. So that's exactly why I wanted to share that clip with you, is so that you could hear exactly the words out of Bernie Sanders' mouth rather than hearing it from me. You're hearing it right there from the guy, right? Right out of the horse's mouth. So there you go. That is very important to understand. All right, so let's quickly break this down for just a couple minutes here and kind of digest what this actually means going forward, right? All right, so he's basically referring to that bill that I just talked about, the Social Security Expansion Act. We know that Social Security has some major insolvency issues in about 10 years from right now where, benefits may not be able to be paid at their full benefit amount simply because the trust fund may be completely depleted. Well, basically what he's saying about the $250,000 cap that he referred to in that video is that he wants to raise the maximum taxable earnings from $160,200 as of right now this year in 2023 up to $250,000. So basically what that means is that higher income people, so anybody earning up to $160,200 right now today, pays Social Security taxes on all of that income. Any money over that threshold, the $160,200 this year, is no longer taxable by Social Security. He's simply saying, let's raise it up to $250,000. So basically what that would mean is any income up to $250,000 would be fully taxable by Social Security. And he said that one simple change would allow them to remain solvent, as in the program to remain solvent for about 75 years, and then again, raise benefits. Now, he did not say how much to raise benefits by in the video, but I know for a fact he's talking about $200 per month. And the reason that I say that is because it all comes back to the Social Security Expansion Act, which I referred to a couple times here and that we've talked about here on the channel many, many times. He is one of the key senators behind that, so yeah, he's trying to sell it here in this video, okay? So this is what Bernie Sanders is saying. Now, again, I've talked about this $200 per month raise here a few times here over the last few months, and sometimes down below in the comments section, I get comments saying, it's never happening, stop talking about it. Bernie Sanders was just out talking about this, okay? This is a fresh, hot off the press interview with Bernie Sanders, okay? So he's still talking about it, and this is something that is still very real, okay? Now, let's just be real for a second. Let me be completely fair, completely transparent, and completely honest with you, which is, this is still in Congress. Congress is not currently working on this at the moment, but as you can clearly see from Bernie Sanders here, he's still pretty optimistic, right? He's still pretty optimistic that this will come into fruition and that something will be done about this at some point. Now, one more thing that I want to point out really quickly. Is Bernie Sanders somebody that we should just say, nah, let's just dismiss everything that Bernie Sanders says? Or is Bernie Sanders somebody that we should probably think, we should probably pay attention to what Bernie Sanders is saying, and we should probably follow what he's doing because he actually does have some influence, and there's a lot of times that he actually gets things done. I'm going to go ahead with the latter there. The reason I say that is, how many times have we seen Bernie Sanders come out over the last couple of years? He has some idea, some plan, some suggestion that we all think is, oh, Bernie, he's just being funny again. And then sure enough, he pulls it off. How many times have we seen that happen here over the last 2-3 years? a number of times, okay? Bernie Sanders has some pretty big influence in Congress, okay? You gotta pay attention to him. Whether he actually pulls something off and whether he actually gets it to work, we don't know that yet. But all I know is that he actually does have a lot of influence and that he does get things done a lot of times. He's one of these guys that makes a lot of noise. He makes a lot of, some pretty bold statements, but at the same time, he pulls stuff off. He gets stuff done sometimes, okay? So that's what I'm saying. Whether you like him or you don't, that's kind of beside the point. That's not my opinion. I'm not here to instill opinions on people. That's not what I do here, okay? I'm not here to micromanage. I'm not here to persuade, nothing like that. You have your own opinions, and that's totally fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I'm simply saying Bernie Sanders, whether you like him or not, we still got to watch him because he does get stuff done, and he makes a lot of noise, right? He stirs the pot. Kind of in a good way sometimes, you know what I mean? Let's be real. Let me say this much as well. It was because of Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley, 2 senators, it was because of those 2 guys that we got stimulus check number 2, the $600. If it was not for them, we would not have gotten that check for the most part. Now, obviously, don't get me wrong, I completely understand there were other bigger players in the game as well. I totally get it. But I'm simply saying, those guys stood up in Congress and said, I'm not voting unless we get the check, okay? So I'm just saying. But again, I completely recognize there were other people in that as well that also made it happen. I totally get it. But those guys basically stood up together, opposite sides of the part or of the aisle, saying, hello, we got to get a check here. Otherwise, we're not voting, okay? Anyway, this is a little video that I want to share with you, hot off the press with Bernie Sanders. Again, making some noise here out of Bernie, and you'll never know. But this is what's going on here when it comes down to Social Security insolvency, Bernie Sanders' opinion on this, and his plan to get this done. Again, yet again, referring to the bill that he introduced, I'm going to say like 9-10 months ago. It was sometime last year. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but it was sometime late spring, maybe early summer of last year, the Social Security Expansion Act. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, but again, I'm going to continue watching this guy as well as everybody else in Congress. Anything else coming out right now in regards to Social Security, raises to benefits, checks, programs, anything else like that, of course, I will continue to keep you posted. Please leave your comments, your questions, your feedback down below. I do my best to read as many as possible, as well as respond to as many as possible as well. Also, make sure to subscribe down below. It's totally free to do so. Share this video with your friends, family, social media, so they can clearly see what Bernie is talking about right now as well, especially if they're a fixed income beneficiary, and go back and check out some of the other thousands upon thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, hope this one helps you. Enjoy, and I'll catch you again later in the next video.